Throughout history, the elephant has occupied a unique place in man's relationship to nature. Prehistoric man depicted them in cave paintings. Good evening, I'm Jeff Koinange, and this is Jeff Koinange live at the Villa Rosa Kempinski. Now that clip you saw just there is about elephants. And as the world's conservationists gather in Nanyuki, and the big burning scheduled for this weekend for 130 tons of ivory, our focus tonight on JKL is just that, elephants, ivory, and poaching. And that is part of a documentary called Ivory, a Crime Story, a hard-hitting documentary revealing the massacres of elephants in the wild. We're going to take a different perspective tonight because my first guest tonight is a former big game hunter. First came to Africa more than 20 years ago, hunting big game, including elephants. 20 years down the line, he's put together, along with his friends, $1 million, about 100 million Kenya shillings, to do this documentary. It's actually featuring this coming weekend at the New York City Film Festival. Hard-hitting documentary about the massacre of elephants in the wild. By the way, my guest is a former diplomat, former politician, former spokesman for Boris Yeltsin, no less. Yes, and a former personal aide to Vladimir Putin. You know what we're talking about. This man has dedicated the last 20 years of his life to Africa. In fact, he's published a couple of photography books, incredible ones, called Patriarchal Africa. Amazing books about more than 40 tribes across the continent and ethnic groups. He has a passion and a love for Africa, but his first passion, no doubt, right now, is making sure the 500,000 elephants or so across the continent are not depleted. Sergey Yastrzhembsky is my first guest. Yes, Sergey, good to see you.
Jumbo.
Jumbo Sana, habari?
Thank you so much.
Good to see you. And look, I mentioned you were a former big game hunter.
It's true.
You used to hunt big game.
Yeah.
And you're still a hunter. I mean, you hunt smaller game.
Yeah.
But when you first came, tell me something. When you killed your first elephant, what was that like?
Oh, it was, first of all, it was very difficult. I hunted in Zimbabwe 16 years ago, and it was only on the 8th day of hunting that we found a big and old tusker, and we shot it. Yeah, so it was one of the most exciting, from point of view of emotions, a hunt that I had during my hunting life for 20 years.
But what changed, Sergey? Why wouldn't you hunt an elephant today?
Oh, it's very, very clear. It's very easy because when I first time came to Africa hunting, when I was a spokesman just to Yeltsin, it's 20 years ago in Selous, every day I saw hundreds of elephants, every day. And I came back to Selous 2 years ago. For 2 weeks, I saw only skeletons and skulls of elephants and huge number of hyenas. So it shocked me really very much. But before that, I got a lot of information from the PHs, professional hunters, from trackers, from Bushmen, from Pygmies, from Maasai. They are excellent trackers about the poaching. So, and after I started reading and investigating, and we decided to devote a special movie to this problem.
Yeah.
It's necessary to stop it.
And you know, when hopefully this movie will air in Kenya later this year.
Yeah.
But this movie is so hard-hitting, Sergey. I mean, you've traveled across most of East and Central Africa.
Yes.
And you saw the decimation of elephants.
Yes.
And the terrible things people do. What goes through your mind when you see that we are destroying this tusker, we are destroying this animal?
Yeah, there are many reasons of poaching, and in this movie that you fantastically, by the way, narrated, So,
Pleasure and an honor.
so there are really many interviews with the ex-poachers, and there are 2-3 big reasons. It's poverty. It's the biggest, I think, reason, because poverty push the people to the forest
Yeah.
to hunt elephants. Second, it's a conflict between human beings and wildlife. And the third, it's a big demand on the international market from China, first of all. So 3 reasons. And if to make analysis, what is easy to resolve, I think from these 3 key reasons, the easiest is to work with the last one, with demand. No demand, no poaching.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's very important to talk about it, and it's very good that you will get this summit these days here in Kenya, and Kenya will confirm its leading position in this anti-poaching fighting.
But Sergey, do you think we are winning the war against poaching? Are we winning this war? Because it looks like, what's the average? And 1 elephant is being killed every 20 minutes, they say.
Yes.
Are we winning this war?
I think it's possible, and very key personal, just our heroes of this movie. For instance, famous Dr. Ian Douglas Hamilton, just talking about that, or other people, Labuschagne, he's a guy from South Africa. He's a director of Zakuma National Park in Chad, also says the same. First of all, it's necessary to work with the communities, explaining to the communities just the problem that they are losing national heritage, helping the poachers to kill the elephants. So in all the cases, in all the national parks where we saw good results, it was just determined by very good and permanent work with the communities. It's number 1. Number 2, it's big international pressure on China to stop producing items from ivory in China. It's possible to substitute this ivory with ivory of mammoth. In this case, mammoth, and Russia exports to China each year about 60 tons of mammoth ivory. In this case, mammoth can save elephants.
Tell me something. This burning this weekend,
Yeah.
130 tons of ivory, is that going to help? Will that increase demand and therefore more poaching will take place? What do you think?
I can be diplomat. I could be diplomat.
Don't
but,
be.
But I will not be diplomat. So I have huge respect to your country, and I know very well your pioneer role in anti-poaching fighting. But in my personal opinion, burning of ivory doesn't give good impact. If would be vice versa, in some country, give me example of some country where the burn would took place where there is no poaching. You can't give me any country in Africa. And burning of ivory, okay, it's a symbol, but in my opinion, it's much better. It would be much better to make to declare a just moratorium for burning, and to protect all the storage with the ivory for next generation, because it's a huge economic and financial resource. It's a heritage of any African country where there are elephants. And in some maybe 10-15 years, different people will find a solution how to use this ivory. But burning ivory, it's losing money.
Yeah.
It's burning huge financial resources.
Yeah.
That's why I'm against it.
But some people say if you store it,
Yeah.
it might get stolen, it might disappear.
Yes, and it happens. It happens in many countries. But if in South Africa the people know how to store and how to protect the ivory, why the in other African countries the people can do the same? So I think this all numerous NGOs acting on this field, they could just invest first of all not in the T-shirts, in the block notes, and etc., etc.,
Yes.
but in the protection of the ivory in this of the storage of with ivory in African countries, with cameras, with good locks, with new technologies. It's possible to resolve this problem. It's easy to resolve this problem and to keep this ivory for future generation in African countries.
Yeah.
It's a pity to burn it.
Absolutely. Some of the people talking in your documentary, Sergey, are the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama, very passionate. Can the world, you mentioned China a moment ago, can China be convinced not to engage in this trade, not to buy illegal ivory?
I think, yes, it's possible. It's difficult, but any rain can drop. Any drop can change the land. Also, drop of international protest can change the mentality of ruling class, first of all, because they are talking about conservation of national carving tradition. Okay, chapeau, you can do it, and big respect for your carving tradition. But what is better, to keep carving tradition and to lose elephants, or to replace elephants' ivory with mammoth ivory, different other things, and to keep elephants in the wild? So I think its response is absolutely clear. And for instance, President Obama made already big pressure on Chinese leadership in the United Nations. European Union makes a lot of things. It's very important that African leaders speak about it openly, without any fear, because China nowadays, it's your partner number one for all Africa.
Yes.
During our footage, we saw many examples of that. And it's obvious where are Chinese, there is an increase of poaching. So Gabon just showed the first example when the president of Gabon openly said, please respect our elephant as you respect your panda. Yeah. So
Because you cannot touch a panda in China.
Absolutely.
If you touch it,
yeah, you will be in jail.
Yeah. Look, when you look around when you look around the continent, the poachers, and we always say China this, China that, but the poachers are not Chinese.
It's true.
The poachers are African.
It's true. They are African, but there are also middlemen. It's a very special people, middlemen who work for the international market. There are a lot of terrorists, and we interviewed one of them, ex-El-Shabaab guy, who was speaking openly about using ivory poaching in Kenya for financing terrorist activities of El-Shabaab. It's not only China, for sure, at the end of the users. Yeah, but China permanent demand market, we filmed a lot in China, in Hong Kong, etc. It's obvious that for them, it's a piece of ivory. It's a dream. It's a national dream about your status. If you have some piece of ivory, it means you are wealthy, you are successful, you are succeeded in your life. So for them, it's like one of life dreams. So it's necessary to break this tradition, very old tradition, but without help of Chinese themselves and governments, it's impossible to do it.
Absolutely. And laws, do we need new laws? Because take, for instance, blood diamonds.
Yes.
Sierra Leone,
Yes,
Liberia, a few years ago. Blood diamonds were used to fuel terrorist organizations. Al-Qaeda, for the most part, suffered when blood diamonds were banned. Ivory is being used in some places to fund terrorism activities. Do we need greater laws?
Yeah, law is very fundamental, especially in African countries. And also I can make applauses to Kenya that last year you changed a lot your local law against terrorism. We were talking about it with people from KWS, for instance, my friend O'Brien in Southeast, other people. So it was very important to change local mentality, to understand that poaching of elephant, it's a crime. It's not tradition, it's not something for only to eat. Yeah. crime, and crime must be punished, and punished with a big, or money, or you go to jail. So in last years, even for the 3 years of our footage, we saw in many African countries positive changes. Chinese, they also have changed a lot, a little, not a lot, a little their laws about poaching. So they started doing something, but still a lot of holes, of holes in the legislation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In China, if you're caught with drugs, you're sentenced to death.
Yeah, yeah.
You're sentenced to death. A lot of Africans are on death row caught with drugs in China, and yet ivory slips through.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the same thing for Thailand, by the way. We are talking in the movie. That Thailand is one of the most important transit country for African ivory going through Thailand, because it's a big hole in the legislation where which permits to use legally so-called legal ivory in Thailand. They can cut the tusk of the live elephant in Thailand. They have some 6,000 elephants in Thailand. So they can use the ivory of dyed elephants. It's all this ivory is called legal, but it's very difficult for customers and for clients to distinguish where is a legal ivory from dead elephant or killed elephant from Africa. And that's why it's just transit corridor going to China.
Yeah, Sergey, I want to take a break, come back. But as we go to break, I want to take more look at this documentary, because it's powerful. It's premiering this weekend at the New York City Film Festival.
Absolutely.
And then after that?
It's our premiere. Next festival took us, it's Moscow Film Festival, category A. They will organize gala evening devoted to the movie. And next it's a moon dance festival, very big festival in Montreal. It will be 8th of September, and I hope it's only beginning.
Wow. Oscar, maybe?
Hope, with the assistance of Kenya.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
My voice.
Good idea, yeah.
My voice.
Your voice is our key. Thank you so much.
We're going to take a look, but keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag we're using tonight, Ivory. Take a look at Ivory, a crime story. We'll take a break. Jeff Koinange Live. We'll be back in a moment.